Akkam jirtu daawwattoota keenya warra Oromiyaa daayisporaa keessa jirtanii fi dhihaadhaa dhuftanii hadha nu laaluu keessaniif galatooma. Maqaan kiyya Firaatol jedhama. Ani dargaggeettii magaalaa Kaalgaariitti qubadhu. Hadhaa ijoollee Meerilaand Waashintan jiran wajjinii waanii ijaarumsaa galma uummata Oromootiin irratti mari'achuu deemna. Kanaafi nu wajjii ijoollee tanas nu simadha isiniin jedha. Good day, everybody. My name is Fira. From the city of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and we're here gathered today with the youth from Maryland, merely to discuss the construction or the building project of a multi-purpose Oromo Center in the city of Washington, D.C. So that is the subject of discussion today, and I ask you to join us and welcome these kids. They are all very active, very enthusiastic, and very involved and engaged in the development and the, nurturing of their community. So I gather that we will all enjoy this discussion. To begin with, I will ask our first dargaggoo kenna, our first youth, chosen Beka E. Beka lama qabna. We have two Bekas. So Beka E, if you'd like to go ahead and please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, my name is Beka Ado. I'm 20 years old. I'm currently a student at the University of Maryland. I actively participate in OYA DC. I also coach Oromo youth and participate yearly at Osfana.
All right, next we will go to Hallelujah. Atisi, please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Hallelujah Sarafo. I'm 16 years old, a senior in high school. I am my school student body president. I'm a 3-season athlete and head of our school's Black Student Union.
Nice. Wonderful, amazing. All right, next, Debbie.
Hi, I am Debbie, and I am 13 years old in 8th grade. And I was born here in Maryland, and I continue to live here. And I'm also a black belt in Taekwondo.
Oh, wait. I guess Master Mehrat has a young sensei to train. Okay, Becca M.
Yes, my name is Becca. I was born back home, and I came when I was 11. I just graduated from the University of Maryland, where I was involved with OSA UMD, where we hosted events and even hosted shows for Rachel.
Oh, incredible, amazing. Okay, thank you for introducing yourselves. And from our audience, I think we've been able to see the demographic of these youth. We have a uni student, we have a senior in high school, we've got a 13-year-old 8th grader here who's a black belt in Taekwondo, very impressive. And we've got Becca, who is a uni graduate, similar to me. To add a little bit context, I am a law graduate, currently working to become, training to become a fully functioning barrister and solicitor, or a lawyer, as they call it in America. We all have different parts of interest. We all have different passions and different talents, evidently. But the one thing that brings us together here is our Oromuma. What we all share as a commonality is our culture, our identity, our language. But also another thing that puts us in the same space is that we're diasporans. So we are not at home, but we are also at home because we are part of our community, which makes this discussion for a multi-purpose community center in Washington, D.C. very, very essential and integral to the prosperity of, our future as the youth of the Oromo diaspora. Now, to begin, I would like to start with a broader approach. So the community in Washington, D.C. is putting a lot of effort to build this multi-purpose Oromo Center. And this is a space that can accommodate everything, anything that we are willing to do as a community, anything that we'd like to engage in, anything that we'd like to invest in for the growth and development of our youth. And this discussion targets particularly, the age of our mates and ijoollee gadaateen na akka afaan Oromootiin jedhanitti. So we'll start again in the same order, if that's all right. Becca, so the question is, why do you think it is relevant for this Oromo multi-purpose center to be built, and how will it benefit the youth, the Kero? Not just those in Maryland alone or in, America, but those across the world. I am a neighbor in the UK, in Canada, not in the UK anymore. No, but there are Oromos in the UK that come here for richer, and then there's those in other places of Europe. So why do you think this construction of this space is relevant and very, beneficial to the youth?
I think, especially being very active in Oya, a lot of our new members always talk about how it was difficult for them coming in. And one of the things we always say to them is, hey, just reach out, do whatever you can to come be a part of our community. And I think we've been doing that for so long now that it's time for us to build into a new stage and have a new community that's even welcoming even more people. Because right now, the current community we have just isn't enough for the community that has grown so much recently. And as far as when I'm coaching, it also really helps to have a community center where we would constantly be able to get a field that will be able to accommodate our large amount of kids. And I think those are really the biggest reasons why we do need this new community center.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, I think from the individuals that attend Osfana every year, the number just keeps getting higher and higher. And I remember speaking to I believe the current president, and he was telling us it's becoming really hard for us to secure locations because the facilities owners are saying, you guys are too much, you guys are too big, we can't host you just as easily. So imagine if we had our own pitch where we could practice, where we could play basketball or, of course, football or soccer, as you guys call it, being the primary objective of Asfana. Thank you. That was a very informed and insightful response. I'd like to give Hallelujah a chance to give some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a plethora of reasons why this community center could benefit the youth. But as someone who went to school in a space where I didn't, for instance, see a lot of people like me and have other Oromos in my space or like in my community that I could talk to other than like church, for instance, I think that this community center could really just give Oromo youth like the opportunity to learn about whether it's the language, the history, like traditions, in a way that's not just like, maybe like a lecture, like a story from like, an elder. I think we could all come together and it could be a safe space for us to talk about the traditions and everything that we have within our families, within our households, but also that happen back home that we might not see or hear about. And meet people who have, even though it's one community, we all have like diverse experiences and voices. And I think being able to see all of that in one space would be like incredible, and I think would be beneficial to so many youth.
So very well said. Absolutely. It would be a place of unity. I really liked the use of the word safe space, which is so important for us as a people, particularly as people of color. And on top of being a people of color and being African and being Oromo, there's a little bit of a disconnection that I felt for quite a bit of time myself, having lived in Kenya and also here. It's like when you relate with the color that you have, and then when you're ready to relate with your culture, your neighbors might not feel the same way. And so as a people that have our own space, I can't imagine the overwhelm that that would cause. But as you said, the plethora of reasons is endless. Um, I would like to hear what Debbie has to say about this. Hopefully, something that's got to do with the studio for Taekwondo.
I think the Oromo Center can serve as a place where I can learn my Oromo culture, and I would be very open to learn more of my language too. And I
Mm.
feel like I could meet with my other Oromo friends there and also make more connections and build relationships with other Oromo youth.
Wow. That's a very, very, very mature response. So bless you. I really like how we're impacting the younger generation. And when I say that, I refer to Davy because look at Hallelujah, and then look at Becca and myself. The responses you guys give is so rich and so well informed. It makes me proud to know that you guys are the ones that are coming up and are going to inherit these, multi-purpose centers once they come into fruition. And the purpose of learning, your culture, your language, your history, and having that chance of like self-discovery, self-growth, and a sense of cultural renaissance that is very, very much pending and needs a place for it to be fostered. That was very, very, very powerful. Thank you. Becca Ranteti. Oh, Becca, I think you're muted if you've spoken.
Oh, I was saying, as they said, there's much need for a community center that caters to all our needs, especially in such a place where the community is growing every year. Every Aracha is bigger. Every event that's hosted is more and more people, and then we also have kids that have so many different interests, and the current community center doesn't encompass all their needs. So I feel like with this new community center, people with interest of sports, libraries, education, they could all just meet in one place, and it would be a place where growing and connection can happen. That's what I believe this is needed.
So I've picked up on a few things in our responses. There's one that comes from our sense of belonging, and that's our emotional connection, our sense of, community, our place of gathering and a place of, reflection, a safe space, as Hallelujah had said. But then there's another side that we're talking about, which is more of the pragmatic side. When I say pragmatic, in the sense that it talks about capacity. Evidently, our community is growing. Every year when we have events, there's more and more people that I see, faces that I don't recognize anymore. But that's a show of how much our numbers are increasing, meaning our capacity and the need for the services and the interests of the people also grow. Now, another thing is that I've picked up on is learning. Learning is a lifelong skill, and it's something that should never end. And in the Oromo culture, in the Gada system, for example, if you guys know a wee bit about it, I don't know much, but I know a little bit myself. And in the Gada system is a system of governance, but it's also an age set system, which means that every person in their age set has a role that they play in the society. And in their role, there is continuous learning, continuous growth. And when I think of this multi-purpose Oromo Center, and I think about the ways in which our people, grew and matured, I think of the purpose of this multi-purpose. The purpose of this center, let's just say center instead of multi-purpose. The purpose of this Grand Center is to foster that maturity, that sense of growth, but also maintain consistency. When we don't have capacity, we're not able to be consistent. But if we do have capacity and we have a space like this, we can maintain consistency and maintain our growth. So there is a lot to the pragmatic side that demands for this. And then we will go into the other bit, which is the sense of connection. Why is Washington, D.C. so important for the growth of, this large ground center that we want to build? Why is it so relevant? Do you guys have an incline to how you'd answer that? I'm not from there. I have an international perspective, literally, from someone that lives in two different countries. But for you guys, it's home to you. So I'd like to know why you believe it's very important that it's built there and it's fostered and, constructed.
I think it's because DC's the US capital, and it's really important for us to advocate for our wants and needs as a people. So for us to have communities all across the US is extremely important, but where all of our legislators are, where
Yeah.
they'll be able to hear us, where we be able to represent ourselves extremely well, would be
Yeah.
in DC. And this community center would play a big part in that. It would give us a foundational home that we would be able to lick to. It would give us a place where we would be able to host um, events, and we would be able to host different gatherings that would help us come together as a community. And hopefully, out of these events, we'll be able to find a new way to help our community and to grow as a community and to advocate for the wants and needs of our people, not only here but also back home.
Mhm. Yeah, very, very true. Thank you, Baker. Um, anyone else would like to take the stage?
I would also like to add,
Hmm.
because what makes this DC area unique is it's actually almost like three states, even though DC is not a state. So
Hmm.
the amount of connections, the amount of like community there's Virginia, there's DC, and there's Maryland. All these people come to
Right.
DC, and that's a place where they meet. So I believe it's important to have a place big enough for all of them. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's yeah.
Yeah, very, very true. Thank you. Hallelujah. Debbie, insights?
I agree with them. And
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of various different groups out there in
Hmm.
DC. So
Hmm.
um, we can create our own and make us be seen and show our heritage.
Yes, show our heritage. I really like that. Yes, yes, hallelujah.
To add on, I think what I would say is, like mentioned, DC is the nation's capital. And I think if
Mm-hmm.
we want to maybe make this kind of change or these kind of things happen also across America, and these kind of spaces be built in other places in other states, I think DC would just be the place to start, right? So, yeah.
Excellent. I do very much agree. Um, but I'd like to share my input, and this is something that we spoke with one of the community elders just before we started. And I'd like to answer this in both languages. Oh, by the way, for those that do speak the language fluently, we would be open for you to speak in both languages if you can. But of course, whatever is most comfortable for you. With regards to DC, DC stands for District of Columbia, right? So
Yeah.
Washington, the big city, everybody calls out to that city. Literally, the whole world needs that city. Everybody lives there. You have Europe, you have Asia, you have Africa, all in that space. And every delegate that comes there knows and understands the givings of, the governance of the city, not just on a political level, but a social level, because that's how we live and, grow with the community. Now, as a people, we are, so the statistics is a bit contested, but there's an estimate that says we're about 72 million back home. Our percentage has apparently increased from the 40% that's usually purported to 60%. Now, let's just go with the 40, for the sake of argument, and think about how large these people are. And on top of that, our language is not the third, but actually now the second most well spoken native language in East Africa. Native language. Yes, there's Arabic, but it's a native tongue to the land of Africa. However, when you meet the average African and you tell them, I'm from Oromo, I'm from Oromia, they'll be like, what's that? Forget saying, who is that? It's what's that? And that's a very hard thing to deal with when you're trying to say, I'm from this land, I'm from these people, when people don't know where you are, where you come from. But the moment you mention Ethiopia, everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're Ethiopian. And sometimes that, for me personally, it's felt a bit reductive sometimes because you don't feel quite represented in the greater Ethiopian schemes. So having a place like this in DC can actually gain us the type of exposure that we need, whereby other countries don't just remember us or acknowledge us when we say Ethiopia, but they acknowledge us when we say Oromo. And they acknowledge us for the language we have, Afan Oromo. And they recognize that, we are the center of democracy, we are where it came from, and the value systems that we have, and what we have to offer as a large community, not just obviously within DC, but the greater, states of America. So, as an international perspective, this is very crucial. It's a place of political, it's a central space where you have access to multiple communities, you have access to multiple cultures, and that's how custom is built, that's how laws are built, that's how relations are built, that's how international relations literally works. So having this multi-purpose room is granting us a space in the international relations that we will have with other communities. And so it's invaluable actually. Akka tuutaatitti bikka tana argachuu jechuun waan salphaaniti. Oromoon teenya bikka hedduu jirti. Bikka kana hogguu dhufnu bakki kun kenna jennee dhaabbannee aadaa teenya argisiifannee eenyummaa teenya beeksisuu callaaniti. Nutis namaa maal goonaa, namnis maal nu godhaa, kara siyaasaatiinis kara aadaatiinis kara waliigaluu dandeenyuunis akka jedhanitti hariiroo intarnaashinaali qabaachuuf jechuu. Kanaafii waan salphaaniti. And I think it's very important that as a community, as a diasporan community, we really look into investing and doing our best to support this, because by our capacity is growing, and of course, there are many needs that that we need to cater to. Now, I have a question with regards to the experiences that you guys have had before. So you've said you've traveled, I'm sure all of you have gone to different places in America, in different community events. Osfana is probably a great example. And when you think about this Oromo Center and you think about your experiences in these other places, if you could share your good and bad experiences. For example, as a member of the Calgary community, I am saddened to say we do not have a community space. It's quite sad, but it's a truth that we must state. And whenever we need to do community events, whenever we need to get together, even for meetings, sometimes we have to seek out other, associations or centers. And that's something that is hard on us, because then that adds travel time, it doesn't give you security, and it makes you feel kind of, alone, to be honest. Akka Hawassa, when you go around and you see the Rotary Club, the Serbian Association, the, I don't know, Spanish Community Center, these are all things that stick out to you, and it makes you feel like you have no place of your own. So I would like you guys to share your positive and negative experiences from having a place and not having a place, and to sort of reinforce why this space would be important for us.
Yeah, I could start for this one because when I first came to America, and as I was in high school, I didn't even know there was Oromo Community Center for a long time. Even though there was, it wasn't advertised. It didn't have all the amenities we as Oromo people in the DC area needed. So I had no connections to it until I got to university, where by being involved in UMD, that's where I got to see what we could do, what we've done. But I also came to realize that all the resources that we had at UMD, it is needed for places where Oromos gather. So I think that's one of the places where I saw a lacking, but I saw opportunity too. Because at UMD, we made a movie based on Oromo history. We did a lot. So it's important for us to have a community like that, a space like that. That's where I would say.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think for me, um, I think I wouldn't necessarily say I could point to one bad experience, but I think it's more of a you go to different events and you know here you have a passport, it's Ethiopian, um, and I've had that for a long time, and I look around with other people who were also from the country, and my culture was never really shown, and I felt consistently always a little bit ostracized, and it
Mm.
just didn't feel 100% authentic to me. And when I came to the community we have now, it was, hey, I'm seeing my flag, I'm seeing my language spoken, I'm
Yeah.
seeing my clothing, and I
Mm.
feel like it's the same for a lot of other kids in the area. So the expansion is really necessary, and I think it would also help other kids feel very accepted the same way I did.
Mhm. Yeah. Acceptance. Oh my God, that is so important. The struggle of not being seen, I think it breaks your soul bit by bit. And the older you grow, the less confident you feel in speaking out. Sometimes you're just like, am I being too much? Am I asking for too much? But really, you're just saying, I'm here and I want to be acknowledged that I'm here. And that is very, very important, to be honest, because we've overshadowed that bit and we've become complacent in the sense that we're okay with just being like, yeah, that's just us, but not quite explaining what is us, who are we and where are we, and how do we want to be seen. So it's a matter of telling your story and really be the narrator for everyone to come and say, yes, this is me, or this is us, as the famous show says. Anyways, before I digress, the experiences that Hallelujah or Debbie might have had, what would you guys rate in this?
Yeah, I had a positive experience when I went to Minnesota for Osana in 2024, and there was like a large Oromo community center there, and I
Mhm,
felt comfortable with the presence of the Oromo identity in that
mhm.
city, and it would be good to have the same here, more of that here.
Nice. Yes, it would. The Oromo in the air. Hmm.
Yeah, I think actually hearing from what both Bekas had to say, I think it's interesting because personally, I haven't had that kind of experience where I'm seeing Oromos all around me and, you know, hearing my history and my traditions and all of that. And so I think if there was a way to, as we mentioned earlier, have everyone come together and have people being able to have the center where we come together and learn, I think that would honestly, I just think it would be beneficial to everyone. I think the most that I see it is maybe at like weddings and like graduations where we're all celebrating
Hmm.
Oromo individuals, and that's like a positive that I see. And I think having that opportunity in spaces, whether it's like to study, whether
Hmm.
it's about like college apps, maybe it's about um, playing sports or music or anything, like in any capacity where we're able to celebrate and
Hmm.
share those kind of traditions, I think it would be beneficial to many people.
Yeah, definitely. I can't agree more. I mean, as someone um that lives abroad, if I were to come, for instance, having an Oromo, like an Oromo center would actually make it privy for me to be able to use that facility. If I came and, I had a book event, let's say when we have book launches or If you've got an organization that focuses on a particular area of Oromo studies, or OSA, or the Think Institute. I am a part of the Oromo Reader Society, and we always seek to bring more people together. And it's like you never really have a place. So I'm just imagining, as someone from not being, from outside of Washington, D.C., that would be coming in, that would be a place for me to say, I have a home. Like, it's like knowing that you have a home somewhere else. Sorry, there's a bit of a sound there. Knowing that you have a home where you're traveling to, and knowing that you have your people waiting on you there. So it's a very comforting thought, for sure. With regards to, since it's the season, I know a lot of people that just can't stop singing the praises of what Recha is in Washington and how it feels. So, however, that's usually outside, and that's where we meet and that's where we congregate. But what's the experience like afterwards? Where do you guys meet up? Do you, go to a restaurant and eat, or is there a space where they get together and share stories, or anything? How do you bond after the event? Because I'm thinking, if we had this space, if the multi-purpose room is built, multi-purpose center is built, pardon me, imagine how much of a use it would have. So would you guys share your experience? I don't know, for those who have attended to the Rich events in Washington, would you like to share your insights on that?
Yeah, I think I've been participating in a Rachel for the past, I'd say 5 years now.
Yeah.
And every year, I think we would go out to the Lincoln Memorial. We'll have the event, and after the event, we'll go to the University of Maryland.
Mm.
We would use one of their rooms, and it's a bit inconvenient, and it's out of the way for a lot of our people. And again, since it's a college campus, there are a lot of people already there, and people find it very difficult just to get there, even after so many years. I think if there was one designated place, say, hey, we're going to be doing the celebration we're going to be doing it at the Lincoln Memorial, then we're going to do it at the multi-purpose community center.
Yeah.
Yeah, the community center. I think that would be the best way to move forward.
Definitely. Can't agree more. Becca, have you been at the Richa? Have any of you been to the?
Yeah, I've been to the Recha. I've been to the Recha multiple times, but
Yeah.
Seeing it from the perspective of UMD, it feels like we have to ask permission to do a lot of the things we do already. So from what he said, I think there is, you could see where we need it. Like, why are we asking to bring this, to host this? So if we had our own place, it would be much easier for us to celebrate our own traditions, our own culture in the ways we did and the ways we want to. That's what
Absolutely. It's about security and comfort. That's what a home is, right? Definitely. With regards to learning, I wanted to touch that up before we start wrapping things up. There's so much we don't know about, Oromo culture. We've touched the surface. I think it was Dr. Gammachu. I don't know if you guys know him, Professor Gammachu. He said, what we know of the Gada system is like a teaspoon of the ocean. And I think the one thing that's hurt Oromos for years is that as a people of a very diverse history, a very interesting history that's been sort of wiped out of the tales that told to people that learn about Ethiopia. We don't see ourselves in it. Like there are more things about us in Russian libraries or Egyptian libraries than there are within Ethiopia itself. And being able to catalog and collect this information and find a way to, see ourselves in the history that shows us that we did build this country. This place was built on the bones of our elders and our ancestors, and kind of conceptualizing ourselves and saying, where do I fit into this? Because when you don't see yourselves in the history books, when you don't see your tales being told, you're like, I was nowhere. And that's where the struggle with, one's identity, one's language starts to have a shaky foundation. Now, for us as diasporans, we are actually at a great advantage because we have this sense of wanting to always know more about back home. But sometimes I'm always surprised from how uh, you know kids back home themselves interact with us with regards to the culture and stuff. They're like, yeah, that's things of the past, you know. And that brings me to the question of learning. How do you reckon that this multi-purpose center could serve for learning in many avenues? What are some things that you'd like to see?
I think people really overlook the community that's really going to come with it. Even with us five sitting right here, I've learned so much, and this is between five people. Now imagine if it was 50 or 500 or 5,000 like at Osfana, but on a more
Mhm,
consistent basis, we would learn more than a teacher, a teaspoon of information. We would be overflowing. Everybody
mhm,
knows a piece of the story. Imagine
mhm,
if we were able to come together and really put it together and understand the full context of everything.
mhm,
Um, and the things personally I'd like to see out of the community center would be would be classes like these that are really going in depth with our history. I'd also
mhm,
like to see um, I'd also like to see language classes. I would love to be able to have this interview in a Oromo, and I think that would be able we'd be able to do that if we had a class in a Oromo.
mhm.
I think I coach I coach soccer, but if we had a community center, we'd be able to branch out into different sports because we have the
Yeah,
infrastructure.
right. Absolutely. Hallelujah. Would you like to say something?
Yeah. I guess like to add on, I think this whole like learning ideas, like the idea that like we can look to others, especially like as for me, like I'm, kind of trying to figure out my future and all of that. And there's so many paths and like opportunities that I could be seeking from
Mhm,
people, who look like me and who went through similar paths as me, who grew up in similar home as me.
mhm,
And I think like having those kind of role models
mhm.
that walk the path that you want to walk in would be so beneficial.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a study space or like tutoring, or like even connecting among like maybe playing same instrument as someone, volunteer opportunities, like really anything. I feel like there's so many things that we could all as a community learn from each other. um I feel like sometimes you just tend to like maybe look towards family, like, okay, let me talk to my aunt because she does this, or let me talk to a teacher. But I think expanding it to the entire Oromo community um, is so beneficial because, again, I've mentioned before, within the Oromo community we have so many diverse experiences and voices. And I think, you know, like Bika also mentioned, like learning the language. I don't know much of the language, and I think that would be so amazing to know, and knowing more about the
Mhm,
history, celebrations, um, or even community events like a cultural night, and like
mhm.
weddings and graduations. Those kind of things would all be honestly just great for anyone in the community.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. All right. Debbie, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, agreeing with Hallelujah, I would love to learn more of my Oromo language, and I would love to learn more about the great experiences those had before us, and let us learn it in like a fun way and about our history and roots and about like stories.
Definitely. Those are my favorites. Fairy tales and such. You know, we have those too, but hey, who taught us? So, Becca, itiduda belta.
And double. What I was gonna say is, as someone with a brother, I have a younger brother who's 10, and
Mhm,
him being raised in the DMV area, I see so many opportunities for him to learn new languages, to play in sports like because soccer, whatever, like the soccer team you have, I'm gonna get my brother to join. But it's important for him to be around his community, do these activities, learn, especially the language classes. I've been
mhm,
personally trying to teach him while trying to learn myself. So I see the difficulties in this. So I think it's very, very important to have these
mhm,
community led organizations within this new community center where we could learn, where we could teach even us, our generation, people who graduated, who are graduating, where we could go and tell how it works, how things work, how universities work, because that would have been so
mhm,
helpful for me. So, like these resources, like we are a resource ourselves. So
mhm.
why not use ourselves to help our brothers and sisters, get to better places? We are connections. We are. So I think, yeah, it's just let's use ourselves to better ourselves. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Let's use ourselves to better ourselves. Wow, that's a very, very well worded phrase. Wow, that's pretty amazing. I can't if language is my dad says that language is a boat that carries culture, and I always ask him who said that to you, and he's like, I don't know, but it's a colleague he had because he used to teach at Oromo, and I can't tell you how much that bears in truth. There is a whole world that we don't understand that we could know more of just by speaking the language. And it's something that worries me and breaks my heart. Sometimes we're not utterly lost causes, like don't think like that. But there is so much that we could gain and explore and grow. It's like identifying a different part of you that you learn from, not just syntax and the words you say, but from the colloquial, from the accent, from the regional differences in the ways that they speak. Those all come with different stories and tales, and it's a brilliant way to really um walitti like tying it, not tying it, like sewing it together. Yeah, that's the word. It's a very essential tool to sew ourselves together as a tighter, bond. So I don't think we could say more than that. You guys have responded in profound ways. I would be happy to hear what your message is for the, overall community that we have, for the youth that are from the same areas that you guys are from those from my side of the world and across the sea. What are the messages you'd like to send?
I could start this.
Hmm.
What I have to say is very simple. This is an investment. This is an investment in our future, in our kids, and that's it.
An investment in us and our kids. I like that.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what Baker just said, it is an investment. As an Oromo, there are you look for opportunities to help your community, and this is the one of the biggest times, one of the most monumental times where you could help out the community, building this community center. And my message to the broader community would be proud of who you are. Don't be scared of who you are. Try to learn your language. We have the internet with a vast amount of information. Utilize it to the maximum capacity.
Yes, to the max.
I think adding on, what I would say is that I think we all know that our culture is so rooted in looking out for each other, whether it's in our households or within a community. No one's really ever alone. There's always someone to guide us and support us. And so
Mhm.
I think that's kind of what makes being Oromo so special, and why I think this multi purpose community center would also be so special. It's where our values and so many other things can grow and be passed down and just create opportunities for us and also just future generations.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Devi?
I think that if we believe and work hard, we can make this multi-purpose center become a source of joy, learning, and lasting memories for every Oromo who visits.
Yes. Oh, all of you guys say such wise words. Oh my God, I'm so proud. I'm very, very happy I got to have this discussion with you guys. Really, I don't think I've met any of you before. Obviously, we're from different countries, but um, it's really wonderful. I am very proud of you and very hopeful and very optimistic that we can do more and we will do well, because seeing you gives me the hope that and the assurance, not just the hope but the assurance that we can make this a reality, and when we do, it will not be it will not be in vain. It will actually have people that will grow it and sustain it and make sure that it's an investment for us and our kids, as Becca said, and where we can believe and work hard and bring joy to ourselves. And something that Alleluia said is that we're not alone. It's not a place where we will feel like we're by ourselves. It's a place where we have people behind us, and there's someone always there to teach us. And of course, it's about this being a monumental opportunity for the Oromo people, and that we are not going to do this 50-50. It's going to be full capacity and every bit of effort that we can to make it a reality. And it's not about it being like now and doing it right away. It's slow and steady. Miti wal qabattee laga ceetii jedhe Hacaaluun. So it's about patience, and I'm very happy to know that this is the kind of conversation our youth are able to have. So thank you, Galatoma, isin martuu. Daawwattoota keessan isinis kan nuu kennitanii, nu wajji turtanii ulfaadhaa isiniin jenna. Waldaa community Washington DC illee galatoomaa isiniin jenna. Ijoollee teessan dhiyeessitanii dubbii tana akka nama guddaatitti irra mari'achuu dandeenye. And of course, karaa OMN tiin galatoomaa isiniin jenna. Ulfaadhaa galatoomaa.